All right, today we are diving into a book that is, and I'm not exaggerating, a total game changer for millions of people. Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, this is so much more than just a list of tips. It's a whole framework for changing your life, starting from the inside. But let's start with a question. You know that feeling, right? When you've been working so hard, hustling, climbing that ladder of success, only to finally reach the top and realize, wait a minute, this ladder is leaning against the completely wrong wall. That feeling of an empty victory is exactly the problem Covey is trying to solve. It's not about being busier, it's about being more effective. So, where do we even begin to fix that? Well, it all starts with a fundamental shift in how we think about success itself. Covey points out that for about 150 years, the literature on success was all about what he called the character ethic. But then, somewhere after World War I, things changed. On one hand, you have the character ethic. This is the deep stuff. Your integrity, your humility, your sense of justice, your patience. It's about who you really are at your core. But then, the focus shifted to the personality ethic, which is much more superficial. It's all about public image, communication tactics, positive thinking techniques, looking good instead of actually being good. And this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? You can't fake character, not in the long run. People will ultimately trust you and work with you because of who you are, not because you've mastered some technique. Real effectiveness has to be an inside job. So, okay, how do we build that deep character? Well, Covey lays out the 7 habits not as some random checklist, but as a step-by-step journey of growth. He calls it the maturity continuum. Look, we all start out in a state of dependence. We're reliant on others. You can think of it as the you phase, you take care of me. The first big goal is to achieve independence, where we become self-reliant, we're in charge of our own lives. That's the I phase. But, and this is key, that's not the end goal. The highest level of effectiveness is interdependence. That's the we phase, where we choose to work together to achieve something far greater than we could on our own. The first 3 habits, they're all about what Covey calls the private victory. This is the essential, internal work you have to do on yourself to get from dependence to independence. Let's face it, you can't build great relationships with others if you haven't even mastered yourself yet. First up, habit 1, be proactive. And this is so much more than just taking initiative. It means truly understanding that between what happens to you and how you respond to it, there's a space. And in that space lies your freedom and your power to choose your response. Proactive people aren't driven by their feelings or their circumstances, they're driven by their values. All right, next we have habit 2, begin with the end in mind. This is the habit of vision. It's all about clearly defining where you want to go and what you stand for. It's asking the big questions. What kind of person do I want to be? What do I want to contribute? This is how you make sure that your ladder is leaning against the right wall before you start climbing. Then comes habit 3, put first things first. This is where the rubber really meets the road. It's the action part. It's taking the vision from habit 2 and the proactivity from habit 1 and putting them into practice, day in and day out. This is all about discipline and managing your life according to your priorities. And to really nail this habit, Covey gives us this brilliant tool, the time management matrix. It breaks everything we do into 4 quadrants. Now, most of us live in quadrant 1, putting out fires, or we waste time down in 3 and 4. But the secret to a truly effective life is spending as much time as possible in quadrant 2, on the things that are important but not urgent. Things like long-term planning, building relationships, and preventing problems before they start. I mean, Goethe just said it perfectly here. Effective people learn to say no to the unimportant stuff, the things that scream for our attention but don't really matter, so they can give a powerful yes to the things that truly align with their core values and goals. Okay, so once you've achieved that private victory, once you've gotten your own act together, then you're ready for the public victory. This is where we move from I to we, from independence to interdependence, and habits 4, 5, and 6 are all about mastering how we work and live with other people. But before you can even get to those habits, you need to understand this core concept, the emotional bank account. It's a fantastic metaphor for the amount of trust that's been built up in a relationship. You just can't have effective, interdependent relationships if that account is empty or overdrawn. You have to consistently make deposits. So how do you make these deposits? Well, it's about the simple, powerful stuff. Really trying to understand the other person, paying attention to the little kindnesses, keeping your promises, being clear about expectations, having unshakable integrity, and When you mess up, which we all do, apologizing sincerely. And with that trust as a foundation, we get to habit 4, think win-win. This isn't a technique, it's a total philosophy of human interaction. It's about constantly seeking mutual benefit. It's not my way or your way, it's about finding a better way, a third alternative. It's rooted in the belief that there's plenty of success to go around for everybody. Habit 5. Oh, this one is so powerful and so counterintuitive. Most of us don't listen to understand, we listen so we can reply. We're just waiting for our turn to talk. This habit flips that completely on its head. It's about practicing empathetic listening, genuinely trying to see the world through the other person's eyes before you even think about presenting your own case. As Covey says, you have to diagnose before you prescribe. And that leads us right into habit 6, synergize. This is where the magic really happens. Synergy is what you get when you put all the other habits together. It's the powerful idea that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It's when 1 + 1 = 3, or 10, or even 100. It's about valuing the differences in people to create amazing solutions that nobody could have thought of on their own. So, you've got your private victory, you've got your public victory, you're all set, right? Well, not quite. How do you keep it all going? That's where the final, and maybe most important, habit comes in. This is the one that makes all the others possible. And it's habit 7, sharpen the saw. The analogy is perfect. Imagine a woodcutter who's been sawing for hours and is getting nowhere. You suggest they stop and sharpen their saw, and they say, I can't. I'm too busy sawing. It's absurd, right? But we do it all the time. This habit is about taking the time to renew yourself. And that renewal needs to be balanced across 4 key areas of your life. The physical, exercise, nutrition, sleep. The spiritual, connecting with your deepest values through meditation or nature or whatever works for you. The mental, constantly learning, reading, expanding your mind. And the social/emotional, making those consistent deposits in the emotional bank accounts of the people who matter most. So when you put this all together, when you step back and look at the big picture, what's the central theme? It's this, and it's so important. Real, lasting, effective change comes from the inside out. It's not about trying to fix your behaviors on the surface. It's about going deep and working on the roots, your character, your paradigms, your principles. And I think this quote from T.S. Eliot just captures the whole journey so beautifully. The 7 habits don't really teach us anything new. They bring us back to these timeless, fundamental principles like integrity, fairness, service, but we see them through a new lens. We understand them on a much deeper level. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I'll leave you with this final thought. You don't have to become a master of all 7 habits overnight. That's not the point. The point is to start. So what's the one habit, the one small, proactive step that you can take today to begin building a more effective and more fulfilling life?